to Deadly Dames, and I thought I would just do a quick video on a review of these comic books. So my good friend Martin, who's from the Trash Picture Show, I know I've pointed you in his direction many times before, especially when I did a review of the comic book he was involved in, Salvaged, which if you haven't got a copy yet, I would highly recommend you go and get yourself a copy of it. Well, he was also involved in these two issues, so this is just there are only two issues of this comic book. Now, I have been in contact with both, obviously with Martin, but also with both Mike and Anthony. Unfortunately, I've not been in contact with Paul, so I do apologise. If you want to chat about these or leave any comments or add anything, Paul, certainly feel free to do so. But I've been in contact with all the guys here, apart from Paul, as I said, about these two comics, because Martin very kindly sent them over to me. I really enjoyed reading them. So I'm going to give you a quick glimpse as to what Nestor's about, and then just sort of how I felt about it, and yeah, just basically recommending that you get yourself a copy of these to read. So Nestor's a sort of modern telling of a vampire story. What I really liked about this story is that although the vampire story has been done a million times, these guys didn't feel the need to do a backstory. They just sort of started, which I really, really liked. Sometimes when you start telling vampire stories and you start going into like the myth and the legend, and you end up back in Victoria times or medieval times, that you can kind of get lost. It doesn't feel as personal to people when they can't relate to it. Now, I personally love when you do gothic tales, but I also really liked that these guys did something different with this. You could tell the massive influences that were on them, and I've spoken to them about it, and they agree that these were influences. The most important one is probably James O'Barr's The Crow. Big feeling of The Crow throughout this. I also personally felt like a little bit like 30 Days of Night with the sort of dark twist in it. But the story of Nestor is a vampire who's living in modern times. The story starts where he goes home, and to start with you think it is his gran, which has been robbed and attacked, and then he gets attacked and he wakes up in hospital, and you find out that the person who you thought was his granny was actually his love. What I loved about this was that with the myth of vampirism, that not everybody who's bitten by a vampire can actually become a vampire. Like, the bite is actually dangerous, it can kill you. Not everyone can recover from it, and I thought that was a great idea, because otherwise, if vampires need to drink blood and to survive as long as they have, if you were to bite everybody that you needed to drink blood from and they all turned into vampires, there'd be no humans left. Like in is it Daybreak? It's like, no, Daybreak's a different movie. Daybreakers, yeah. But there's like more vampires than people. Well, that would happen. So I loved that Nestor did actually like explain why there's not that many, because it's technically poison and not everybody can recover from it. I also really liked the idea of not being bitten by another vampire in this as well. So like a vampire being bitten by a vampire. They took away all of the sort of standard vampirisms, try to say that word, like steak in the heart and garlic and stuff like that, which I loved as well, because it just did something different. I especially liked the artwork in both of them. But in Nestor issue 2, what Anthony did is really, really dark, and I personally like stuff like that, loads of blood and gore, and that's what I like. I often will go into a comic book shop and I'll start to flick through the comics, and when I see the page with all the gore, I kind of just go, this is for me, and just go and buy it, which is terrible. But I think when somebody's willing to try something different like that, I'm up for giving it a go. I did ask them if there was going to be any more issues, and I think this was a bit of a passion project for the three guys, and or four guys, sorry, and I'm not sure if they're actually going to do any more. But what I loved about this was the fact that it did start in the middle. Potentially there is a backstory there, so you could go back and retell, but you could also keep going forward, which I really, really liked as well. Now, I don't want to give too much away, because I do highly recommend that you go and get yourself these issues, and feel free to contact any of these three guys here who I've chatted to. They're all on Twitter, and I'm sure they'll be happy enough to guide you in the right direction to get yourself to buy yourself these issues. And as I said, Martin is the Trash Picture Shows on his YouTube channel, and he'll be more than happy if you contact him to point you in the right direction to pick up issue 1 and 2. And I do recommend that if you are a reader like me and you enjoy the artwork goes into comic books and graphic novels, and you just enjoy reading, then go and get yourself a copy of these. Sorry, my foot had gone numb, that's why I moved there. But I'll quickly show you a little bit of the artwork. I don't want to give too much away, just so you can see how pretty it looks and how much and how talented they are. But in issue 1, just a wee look here. Don't look too close because then you'll see what's going on. And then in issue 2, as you can see, it's a lot darker when Anthony starts drawing it, but look at that blood and gore straight away. That makes me want to buy these comic books. I would personally like to see more of Nestor, so hopefully if I keep saying that, we might get some. But yeah, I'll leave the Trash Picture Show's link below. Get in contact with Martin if you want to, and go and get yourself a copy of this. And if you haven't picked up this Salvaged, as I said, go and get yourself a copy of that as well, because it's a beautifully drawn and written graphic novel, which again, I would love to see more from these guys, because they're truly talented. And as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and take care.